So Worldfish has made a big deal about integration. But what do we mean by integration? And how do we measure it? And how much is enough? So why integrate?
It is our identity. It is the institutional identity. That's why we need it.
We are building learning and our expertise, which improves our contribution to the IDOs.
It's about being more effective as a global commentator and being able to gather resources and support for our mission.
It's about efficient use of limited staff and funds.
We can make the integration in 3 different levels. One is the country level, one is the regional level, and global level. And also we do integration across the CRPs, across disciplines, within the CRPs in the country level, in different hubs, and also different program priorities.
I'd like to give you some examples of methods that can be used to measure the level of integration at country level. For example, we can think of the number of technologies, tools, or methods that can be interchanged between CRPs of projects. We can also think of the number of staff that are working for several CRPs, a good indication of how CRPs are working together. Then there are the number of publications that are produced in a year, which are related to several CRPs, indicating also the integration between CRPs. The number of total publications, which is an indication of the time that is actually saved by working together. And finally, the number of outputs that can be reported as well as a CRP achievement and as a bilateral project achievement, indicating also that there is a double use for this work.
Building on that example from the country level, here are some of the ways of thinking about measuring integration. Extent of communication, extent of collaboration, level of resource sharing, and the quality of relationships.
We've heard that integration will require some level of communication, some coordination, and the sharing of natural resources. This will entail some cost to the organization. So the question that the organization might want to raise is, does it make sense to invest in integration? And one answer to that question is by looking into the contribution of integration to the achievement of IDOs in Worldfish Center. And here is a way by which we can illustrate that kind of contribution. We are saying that AAS by itself will probably bring about this impact on the IDO. Integrating the livestock and the fishery sector will bring about this benefit. By working together, we are expecting that the benefit of the integration will be higher because there are some commonalities, there are some joint learnings, there are some lessons that could be learned for each other. Another way of looking at that is that we can look in terms of the situation wherein there is no integration and there is integration. And ideally, what we are measuring is what is the incremental benefit associated with integration. One might ask, though, at this point, that there are costs to integration. And I think this graph will illustrate that. One will be quick to point out that there are costs to integration. And I think the easy way to demonstrate that is by looking at this graph. As you can see here, there are these benefits that can be obtained from a low level of integration. At some point, however, the benefit might actually be declining. And that is when people are spread too thinly, they may not be able to perform or to deliver that output. So at that case, when that happens, the real question or the question now becomes a question of efficiency. We are no longer interested in terms of its contribution to the IDO, but we are interested in netting out the cost to the benefit of integration. This brings us to this measure of net benefit. What is the incremental benefit that is associated with a higher level of integration?
The key messages on this topic of integration are: one, integration can deliver a measurable increment in our outcomes. There are risks of integrating too much as you begin to spread yourself thin on the ground. And the third point is that setting good targets can help you manage the associated risks.
So this has been our thoughts about integration, but clearly there are other questions that you might have, and we've started to think about that, and we've identified some, but there might be others. Some of our questions we thought you might have are:
What's missing in framing this issue?
What are the most important benefits that you foresee?
and is this a reasonable approach to measuring integration?
And what might be missing?
What sorts of target makes sense? How much integration?
And what is practical?
Integration, the way integration all the way integration.
All right. Okay.